So, welcome back to Never Don't Ask with me, John Martin, and we have another station review. This is my 50th review, so I wanted to go somewhere notable. So, why am I in Salford, Sun City, for the Northern Run station of Patricroft? Because Patricroft is one of the oldest surviving railway stations in the world, with its origin stretching back to the very dawn of the railway age. Roll the credits. Station is reached on the B5231. We're in the Patricroft area of Eccles, which is a suburb of Salford Sun City, a part of Greater Manchester, and pretty much contiguous with Manchester itself as a city. Patricroft itself is southeast of the station, Winton is to the west, and Monton to the north. Barton on Irwell is to the south. We're on the Liverpool to Manchester Railway. Yes, the OG intercity route, built by Big Daddy Railways himself, George Stephenson, with help from Joseph Locke and others. Eccles Station is just over a mile to the east. Newton the Willows is under 11 to the west. Trains heading north onto the West Coast Main Line leave the Liverpool and Manchester just before Newton the Willows, so Wigan North Western is 16 and a third miles. The station opened on the 15th of September 1830 as part of the pioneering Liverpool and Manchester Railway that connected the industrial centre of Manchester with the port of Liverpool, and is widely regarded as the world's first true steam-operated intercity railway. Patricroft was one of the original stations on the route and has therefore been in continuous railway use for almost 2 centuries. When the station opened in 1830, the Liverpool and Manchester represented a revolution in transport. Unlike earlier railways that relied partly on horses or were designed mainly for freight, this was a new railway built for regular passenger and goods services, entirely powered by steam. Patricroft's location was strategically important, serving a growing industrial settlement besides the historic Bridgewater Canal, and providing a link between local industry and the expanding rail network. The station's early years coincided with rapid industrial growth of Patricroft itself. During the 1830s and 1840s, engineering works and factories began to appear around the village. One of the most significant developments came in 1836 when Scottish engineer James Naismith established the famous Bridgewater Foundry in Patricroft. The railway station became an essential hub for workers, for raw materials and finished products moving between Manchester, Liverpool and beyond. The railway companies that controlled the station changed several times during the 19th century. Patricroft began under the Liverpool and Manchester, but in 1845 that company was absorbed into the Grand Junction Railway. Only a year later, in 1846, the Grand Junction Railway became part of the newly formed London North Western, one of the largest railway companies in Britain. Through these mergers, Patricroft became part of an increasingly extensive rail network. To the east of the station, there were 2 branches, the Clifton branch heading northeast and connected to the Clifton Hall Colliery. This opened in 1849, but was closed in 1953 after the Clifton Hall Tunnel collapsed. The Manchester and Wigan Railway headed northwest to Wigan and Bolton. It competed with the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway services to these towns. It opened in 1864 and closed to passengers on the 3rd of May 1969. More changes came in 1923 as the railway grouping happened. The London North Western merged with several other companies to form the London Midland and Scottish, known as the LMS. Patricroft remained under LMS ownership until the nationalisation of Great Britain's railways on the 1st of January 1948. After privatisation of the railway industry in the 1990s, responsibility for services passed through a succession of train operating companies, and today the station is managed by Northern. One of the most important railway facilities associated with the station was a Patricroft locomotive depot, otherwise known as Patricroft Motive Power Depot. This engine shed opened in 1884 on the north side of the station and became a major base for steam locomotive working services across Lancashire and beyond. For more than 80 years, the depot is a familiar sight, employing generations of railway workers and housing many classes of locomotive. However, as diesel and electric traction replaced steam during the 1960s, the role of this depot diminished and it was finally closed in 68. The station itself underwent significant changes during the 20th century. Like many smaller stations, Patricroft lost much of its Victorian infrastructure as passenger numbers declined and railway finances came under pressure. Most of the historic station buildings were demolished during the 80s, leaving only basic shelters on the platform. Although this altered the station's appearance dramatically, the site continued to serve local passengers and retain its position on the route. In the 21st century, Patricroft became part of another major chapter in the railway development. The line was electrified between 2013 and 2015, bringing overhead wires to the route that originally opened the age of steam between cities. We have two side platforms here. We are both street level, and there are stairs up to both platforms with a tunnel linking the two. Both platforms are 124 metres long, although they have blocked off sections at the end. The reliable railway rebels at the Department of Transport classification team classes as an F2 category station, the least used category of station. Marks for services, 2 out of 10. While the line is pretty busy, more services since electrification. In general, only one train an hour stops in each direction. On the Liverpool Lime Street to Manchester Airport service, Manchester Piccadilly is 14 minutes away. Manchester Airport is about 35. St Helens Junction is 17 minutes away. And Liverpool Lime Street is 45 minutes away. Being a passenger on this line, it is an unreliable service, and the council fare is up to her tricks again. One of my visits here. Looking at the 24-25 stats, the most popular destination is Manchester Piccadilly with 18,826 journeys, followed by Deansgate, Manchester Oxford Road, Liverpool Line Street, and Manchester Airport. So it's used a lot for getting into town. Well, let's look at the usage figures. Patricroft had 147,502 entries and exits, which is a daily average of just over 404 passengers. With 266 services per week, we get 10 and 2/3 of a passenger per service. Station usage is improving and has far surpassed the pre-COVID levels. The introduction of electric trains on this route has seen a massive increase in numbers. We have at least 6 times as many passengers using the station today as the turn of the century. Marks for onward travel, 2 out of 5. There is only one bus from the station, the hourly 65, that runs from Eccles to Monton and Winton, then circles back. On the A57 road, just less than 5 minutes walk away, we have the 10, 20, 21, 22, 67, 67A and the 100. The 10 runs from Shude Hill in Manchester City Centre to the Brookhouse Estate near Peel Green. The 20 runs from Bolton to the Trafford Centre. 21 is from Agecroft in Salford, Sun City, to the Trafford Centre. The 22 is another Bolton to Trafford Centre route. That one used to extend all the way to Stockport, but they gave up on that because it was silly. 67 is from Shude Hill to Glaze Estate near Glazebrook. The 67 does the same, and the 100 runs from Shude Hill to Warrington via the Trafford Centre. Marks for accessibility, 1 out of 10. This isn't good. We're at an unstaffed station, but we do have indicators and announcements. Neither platform has level access, with stairs leading up to the platforms from the street. Normally this would merit a 2 out of 10, but the bulb in the passage under the tracks was flickering in a way that would cause seizures. Obviously there are no ramps on the platforms. Marks for station facilities, 3 out of 10. The station has the basics. It has a ticket machine by the entrance. It has seats on the platform, and both platforms have covered shelters. At street level, there is a bike rack for a small number of bikes. The Monument to Mistaken Minutiae, the National Rail website, cites this small number as 0, despite it saying there is bike storage. There isn't car parking here. Marks for care and character, 11 out of 20. This isn't a particularly pleasant place to wait. The walls have been whitewashed with some coloured stencils for a bit of interest. The platforms have displays paying tribute to its history, with stuff about the canal crossings and the locomotive sheds. So it gains marks here, as it does for the planters. I was here on a Saturday afternoon in summer, and I was glad I didn't have to come here after dark, especially with the flickering tunnel lights. It all looked a bit creepy. What gains another mark, purely for character, is the weird wonky building on the Manchester-bound platform. It was actually built wonky, I'm not sure why. If it's to stop the rain settling in Salford Sun City of all places, it would just need a sloped roof, not the whole thing. If you know why, leave a comment down below. Marks for nearby things, 4 out of 10. This is a residential suburb, so unlike neighbouring Eccles, there isn't a big town centre nearby. But we just have to make do with the history. West of the station, the line crosses Bridgewater Canal. Just like Liverpool and Manchester was the first intercity railway that truly kicked off the railway age, the Duke of Bridgewater's Canal that linked his Lancashire coalfields with Manchester and with the Mersey at Runcorn, cutting off the meandering Mersey, was a great achievement of the canal age. To reach a canal, there is a footpath up to the station, although the path is narrow and not exactly reassuring in its sight lines. Just to the north of the station, there is an industrial estate that takes the place of both the old Patricroft sheds and the Naismith Gaskell and Company's Bridgewater Foundry, which built locomotives and heavy machine tools. All that remains now is one of James Naismith's steam hammers, which is next to Green Lane. Over the road from that, and up a lane, is what is the Queen's Arms, which claims to be the oldest railway pub in the world, although I'm sure there are other people who will contest that, considering at least that Stephenson's trip on locomotion on the Stockton and Darlington started from outside a pub, although this may be the first pub to be built next to a railway line. There are probably many different ways you can claim to be the oldest. Overall, so how did one of the oldest railway stations in the world fare? Not great. 23 out of 65, which maths out at 35%. It's an inaccessible station with an infrequent service. It's good that people are using this as a quick way to get into the city when the trains actually run. But it highlights as an issue with Greater Manchester's local rail services is that most of the region's lines are used by longer distance trains. So while Liverpool can run 4 trains an hour on most of its routes with a high degree of reliability because they have isolated lines, we have 1 train an hour that has to fit in with other services and is vulnerable to knock-on effects across the network. So what do you think? Is a station like this still acceptable in the 2020s? Is there a way of improving the local train services in Manchester without reducing our intercity connectivity? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks once again for watching this as I travel around the country. Please like, subscribe, ring that bell to be notified of the next station review.